can't remember how the world ended. It was before my time. I remember the stories, though, the rush of civilization, the sounds and smells of millions of people living and breathing together. It's not what they always described it. Always the good parts. The happy memories. It was only after a great bit of prodding did the elders of the settlement finally talk about the fall. The end of the world. It never felt different than any other day. That's what they would say, just a normal day when you get ready for work or school. No one was ready for the chaos. The smell of blood or the sight of family members tearing doors from their hinges to eat up their own children. You never really found out how it started. The tipping point that finally brought the weight of reality crashing down on us. I suppose it doesn't really matter at this point. Nothing really matters now. Confusion. That was always what they felt. No one ever expects their regular, boring morning to turn to a fight for survival. Most were caught off guard, I suppose. Being bitten and infected before they even realized what was going on. I was back during the start of the infection, though. Yeah. Before it had time to mutate. Evolve. Back then, all it took was a bite. Transfer infected fluid. A perfectly healthy person would last for a few hours or even days before it reached their brain and took over, shutting off all the most vital functions, except for basic movement and hunger. Only after a few years in the wild did the mutations start to get interesting. Rotting tumor bodies turned into virus breeders, melted into the side of old bridges and under buildings, pumping aerosolized pathogens into the air. The roving packs of hounds were everywhere. And they were only outnumbered by the rat hordes, swarming every encampment and every ramshot barrier. It was a wonder that our settlement even lasted long enough to get a few generations in. No, that wasn't the difficult part. The dogs and the rats were stupid, easily led into kill zones or primitive fire traps. Even the infection spores could be staved off with a couple of hazmat masks, and they didn't even survive for too long outside the breeder hosts. Even the biters weren't too bad. As long as you were smart, you could kill or avoid them easily enough. They're only dangerous in large hordes. They never seemed to follow you for too long when you got out of their view. Of course, that was until they got smarter. First, the newer infections went fast, too fast. What had once taken hours or even days now happened in minutes. They moved better, too. Davey found that out a few months ago. He tried climbing a tree to get away. It was only after looking down did he see 3 of them decided to join him. I miss Davey. Veronica didn't fare much better. I mean, thanks to her, we found out they'd gotten smarter. Ironically enough, the dead learned how to play dead. She didn't see it until she tried scavenging a gas station for food and got surrounded by 5 of them. Poor Veronica. We didn't go into cities so much after that. What always struck me were the sounds that they made. They never sounded quite human by the end, but they were getting there. They could mimic, we knew that by then. Maybe it was just some old memories or knowledge that was still bouncing around the active parts of their brain. The occasional word or dull, slurred speech. Never really got scary until they started responding back. Or remembering our names. That's how we lost Mark. Understandable, I suppose. I mean, when was the last time you had a corpse call for help while you were on your 3rd night of watch duty? Can't for the life of me figure out how they learned mine, though. They've been trying to get me to come out for the past few hours, but I know better. Got the door nice and locked, too. Thanks for finding that one out, Kimberly. Sorry it took us so long to figure out they could open doors now. I guess it shouldn't have been that much of a shock that they ran over the guard wall so quickly. I mean, who could have guessed they learned how to coordinate so effectively? We didn't even know what was happening until they got Benny, and he was on watch in the middle of the camp. I guess I was the one that got lucky, if you could even call it that. Found myself a nice little spot in one of the old camping huts we were living out of. At least the screaming finally stopped. I hope Dan got away. Actually, I can't even hear the biters anymore. I guess they finally... Oh, you bastards. You figured out how the window latches worked, didn't you?